Slow start today. Got the adventure dog locked in here with me. My neighbor, good old fella, lifelong logger, they're doing the hay next door. I get the hay. I'll buy it off them. And she won't stop barking at the tractor. At all. So I had to pull her in here. Now she's going to lay here and be a good doggy. Well, now, what do we got going on besides a lot of people need to be heard? A lot of people need to be heard. It's funny, you know what? It's kind of odd, the internet. It doesn't matter what topic you choose. Doesn't matter what you post. If you try to maintain a positive outlook and a positive theme and share something positive, somebody will always try to tear it down no matter what. Isn't that bizarre? It's so weird to watch and witness. Anyway, I'm not going to babble about anything like that, but I will encourage everyone today to make sure you do what makes you feel good and what makes you feel happy today or tomorrow, this weekend. You have to do that. Even if it's just for an hour. Whatever it is, you got to do it, alright? Excuse me. Late night last night. We had another graduation yesterday to go to. Oh yeah, it's another thing too. What was his name? Noah something, I forget. We had the program for the graduation. A lot of First Nations people in the community. A lot of First Nations kids graduated last night too, along with Sarah's daughter. There was a couple of adult students there, and one man had this incredible frickin' voice, and he brought his drum up and he sang at the beginning of the ceremony, and I videotaped it. I'll probably find out what his name was by the time I get to editing. I'll put his name in there. Did I get permission to share his song? Nope. Will there be people who know who he is who are watching this channel? Guaranteed. So I'll share some of his song in honor of him and the First Nations people here. And unfortunately, it doesn't even say in the program what the song's about. So maybe somebody could message me and tell me what it's about. But here's, we'll start off with listening to him a little bit with some background. How's that? Alright, there you go. Good voice, right? Passionate man. He got his diploma. He shared with everybody that he lives, quote, all he had to say was he lives for his children. Good man. Now, let's get right into sharing some voices. Actually, hold on a second. So one thing I was thinking last night, I'm looking at all those kids. All those kids. And the world they're getting basically, not forced to, but they're diving face first into this crazy planet right now. And you went and you hear different speakers come up, and the principal and teachers and stuff, and they give a little speech and give them encouragement, what they should do and things to expect. And I thought, what would I tell those kids? What would I tell those kids? But one thing that I have learned for myself, I don't know how many kids are here, young people are here, but one thing that I have learned for me through firsthand experience and watching others and making sure that I listen to, I don't know what, success, being successful is different in everyone's eyes. Some people think that money and possessions is success, and it's not. It's not. And one thing I have learned that a common denominator with the people who I consider successful is they found out early in life what they loved to do, what they absolutely love to do. Find out what really makes you smile, really makes you frickin' excited to do that activity, master it, become good at it, and then help other people do it too as your income. That would probably be one thing that I would suggest to the young people graduating today, would be that. Figure out what makes you super frickin' happy, you love to do it, something that you would not even believe that you get paid to do it, and try to master what makes you feel happy and see if you can generate an income of helping people become good at that too. That's what I did. That's what a lot of people have done. I remember when I first was decided to make that shift of what I was supposed to be doing this lifetime, which was taking people into the remote areas and helping their dreams come true, man, and it fit like a freaking glove. I loved it so much, and I absolutely could not believe every single day that I was getting paid to do this. I just couldn't believe it. I'm getting paid to do this? Oh my God, crazy. And then as long as you stay on that theme in life, you should cruise right along and create as much happiness as you can. While at the same time, unfortunately, there is groups out there that are trying to prevent that. And they're doing a pretty good job of it. So that's another side of the coin too, right? But anyway, I'm going to stop babbling. I'm going to get some voices shared. And there's a fly in here. This fly must die. Hold on a second. Alright, here we go. I'm going in the latest email column today. And when I'm done this, I am out of here. I'm going to the boat, going to the coast, I'm going to the woods. I'm going to go get some soul food. This is titled Dog Man Experience. Hello, sir. So I had a horrifying experience when I was 14 years old. I live in Youngstown, Ohio. I grew up on the north side of town in the city. If you look up pics of the old steel mills in town, you'll get an understanding of what I'm talking about. So, my buddy literally lived across the street from the mills. He would regularly go down there and just investigate the massive area, all but shut down and dilapidated. Well, we had certain old buildings that we frequented, and one we made into our home base. We spent weeks making walls and strengthening spots so no one could get in, and especially the wild dogs that also frequented the area and were especially vicious. Wild dogs kill more people than anything in North America when it comes to. I was thinking it's around 150 people a year succumb to canines in the United States alone a year. They traveled in packs of 6 or more. The building we went to all the time had no stairs. We had to jump up to get in. Made it safer for us. I was right by an active railroad. The other working steel mill used it to get supplies in and out. I wonder what those dogs ate every day. It's a lot of miles. Fast forward to the summer, and we were there one night. We always had guns, as this was Youngstown, Ohio in the early 90s. Murder Town, USA at the time. Whoa, no way. Creepy. Plenty of Bloods and Crips. Well, gangland. We had chosen an old factory building that was huge, and we would have massive fires right on the floor of the first floor. We erected a wall of these metal U-shaped things to give us privacy and safety. If anyone saw us from the railroad, they would call the police and security, and we would be in trouble. Well, we were hanging out, and we heard a pack of dogs coming. and we thought it sounded like they were chasing something. We went out to see, and they ran near us over a huge mound of coke that the steel mills use in the steel making process. They ran over, and we heard a fight ensuing. Vicious attack going on, all dogs involved. After 6 or 7 seconds, we hear a louder dog above all the others, and the beginning screams of the wild dogs started. Then, to our shock, at different times, wild dogs were literally being thrown over the mound in different directions. Wow. Finally, all the wild dogs ran away in the direction they came, but as fast as they could possibly run. Some limping, some with obvious injuries. We were shocked. Then one of my friends screams, "What is that? Look!" That moment, I kid you not, a giant wolf-like animal the size of which seemed quite honestly fake, crawls on all fours to the top of the mound and is looking directly into the area the wild dogs ran. It lifts its leg and subsequently and substantially releases a urine flow that honestly seemed like it was released out of a garden hose. That right there may sound amusing. It scared the hell out of us because it had, typo, it have the idea of just how large this thing was. My one buddy stumbled backwards into our makeshift wall, and then it turns its attention to us. I cannot relay to you the amount of fear we all immediately felt. I feel it even now, writing this to you. The hairs on my arm are standing up. It had yellowish, amber, orangish colored eyes that literally glowed like they had a power source behind them. Looking back on it, we agreed it was from the light of the huge bonfire that we had made in our home base. It growls next, and it was so deep we all felt it. I said out loud that I just felt that in my chest. My two buddies said they were all of a sudden lightheaded and getting sick. I did not feel that as of that moment, but we all were horrified. Sorry, guys. It then did something so shocking, so alien to the status quo that we immediately felt in danger and ran inside the building and up 2 sets of broken, missing, and falling apart concrete stairs up to a 3rd level. We were all very lucky. No one fell. 2 at least of broken bones type fall, maybe worse. It stood up on 2 legs, its back legs. They looked like a huge set of dog's legs, but the large leg muscles were reminiscent of a bodybuilder, but thicker. And just the look of its massive body was unbelievably impressive and intimidating. My one friend was crying. He was so terrified. When we got back to the 3rd floor, we had to smack and shake him to shut him up as well as cover his mouth until he almost passed out from lack of air. Yeah, lots of people react differently to the shock, right? Of anything terrifying. We hoped it left, and it did not. After what seemed like an hour, but only 1 or 2 minutes, we hear it climb up on the outside and start to enter the building. No way. We first saw the shadow of it, which was 10 times as large as the beast. We all froze. No one dared make a sound. We should have dropped down out of sight, but we were so terrified, we just stood there staring. It came into the light, and we saw everything on the animal. It was, at the very least, the size of a huge polar bear. Again, the size was so large, it was hard to believe that we were not dreaming, that this was real, and it was happening 20 feet in front of us. It was growling, sniffing the air, and it just automatically looked straight up at us. It knew we were there the whole time. Its eyes glowing. The thing that stood out to us was it started drooling, but not a little. It was pouring out of its mouth. Was it pouring from the idea it was about to eat, to kill us? We could have easily. It looked away from us and saw the stairs. We froze again, and I got a newfound feeling of horror. It was heading to the stairs to come up to where we were. We started freaking out, looking around, and only had one escape, an outside fire staircase going up to the roof. The part to go down had rusted and fell off, however, long ago. It hopped easily over the 3 steps missing and was instantly up on the 2nd floor. It was walking to the next set of stairs, and at that moment, we heard the most beautiful sound ever. A train coming right by the building, slowly too. They had to see the fire because when they were passing the building, they let loose the treason horn, and it freaked out the wolf creature. It looked towards the opening of the building, and in 2 seconds was out of the building and gone. We all started screaming help, which no one heard, but also we were just screaming from stress and because we felt we were going to maybe be okay. When the train could no longer be heard, the fear set back in and we thought every single sound was the thing coming back in. It did not, thank God. We then started to remember we had 3 pistols with us. We all took them out, took the safeties off, and started to make our way back down to the 2nd floor. Waited 20 minutes. And then to the 1st floor and waited probably an hour before we ventured back outside, pointing the guns and flashlights in front of us the whole time. Remember, we didn't have LED lights in the early 90s. These were cheap plastic ones and only lit so much. But 4 of them helped light the way. We thought for sure every second we were making our way back to my friend's house that it was coming after us. We heard the wild dogs from a distance and started running. We ran until we got to my buddy's house. We didn't go back for years, and when we did, we were able to get an idea how large it really was. There were huge cement pillars in the corner of every floor. They went from the bottom floor to the top. They were easily 4 to 5 feet wide and 15 to 20 feet high. When this thing stood up, it was easily as wide as the pillars and also easily 9 to 10 feet tall or more. The look of this thing had the build of a polar bear, although it was bigger. The way a polar bear is longer, limbed, lankier, that is how it was built. But again, so gigantic it looked fake. It was black as black can be. It was almost a bright black. And you'd be able to see, and you would be able to see in a moonless lit night or in a completely dark room, almost sucked the light from around it. It had some paranormal qualities, but I'll leave that for another time. Its teeth glinted white in the firelight. Its hair was 1 inch to 1.5 inches at most. It seemed to have a white stripe down its back to its tail. You could hear it had long nails. I didn't see them. It had dog's legs and a spade-shaped tufts of hair coming off the sides of its neck. Its hands looked big, looked like big raccoon hands, and hung past its knees. I can elaborate more if you ever want to talk. Those of us that are still alive talk about that night every time we see or talk on the phone. We'll remember that until the day we die. I'm still in awe that these things exist. Every time I see or hear a story about someone's experience with one or more, I freeze. I'm instantly brought back to that night, and I feel true fear again. Okay, man, so you left your name, you didn't say not to use it, alright? My name is Matt Emch, E-M-C-H. If you want to talk to me, feel free to text me first so I know it's you guys and we can talk after. Thank you very much for listening. Sincerely, Matt Emch, E-M-C-H. Sorry, man, I hope I didn't butcher your last name. That is one terrifying freaking experience. And also, like I said, I've said it lots of times, I am, admittedly, for the longest time, I hear the Dogman thing and I just go, oh God, here we go again. But, like I said before, I'm an absolute dumbass, smart as a pickle if I don't listen to the people. And so many people have had these experiences. And Melba, I gotta get a hold of Melba. I believe she sent me the NDA a little bit ago and I haven't had a chance to even crack that open yet. So, Melba, if you're here, I'm sorry, I'll be right there. But she has DNA from these beings too. Do I know how she acquired it? Nope, not yet. I'm sure she'll share. And I still say my gut. I go with my gut with everything. I don't give a shit what anybody tells me or dictates to me or warns me of. My gut decides everything, and still today, my gut, when the Dogman thing comes up, my gut says put a hole in it as fast as you can, right between the eyes, and don't stop. That's what my gut says. Take from what you will or leave it. Don't follow my lead. Make your own decisions. Follow your own gut. But I will share that my gut says that these Dogman things are absolute dark, evil, bad, not good, and an absolute threat. That's what I've got for me so far. Like I said before, I don't think they want to play fetch and hump your leg. Right? So, if it ever arises, if I look out that window right now, I'm going to go get something big and I'm going to dump it. If it's standing there staring me down in my home, I'm going to stop it. Okay, sorry for that little outburst. Who's next? Goosebumps every time I tell this experience is the title of this email. These are all recent, alright? Steve, thanks for what you're doing. You're a good man and you're helping so many through your videos. A lot of your thoughts and beliefs align. I've said for years, quote, they, end quote, are bottlenecking us. Please go ahead and use my name. I've got no fear of what others think and say. You're a free person. Good for you. My name is Johnny Maurice. I'm 50 years old. I live in Coaldale, Alberta with my wife and our 2 amazing kids. I've had a hard go that started years back involving lots of bullying at my workplace and being held back from moving up the ladder. I became more and more stressed at the age of 36. I was diagnosed with an extreme case of fibromyalgia and arthritis, along with PTSD from a rough childhood and borderline personality disorder. Oh, that sucks, man. Sorry to hear that. My mind and body were falling apart, and my doctor had no answers or solutions except to push more pills on me. That sucks. My journey has led me to many places, though. I started looking for answers as to why I was falling apart at such a young age, researching and listening to the real experts and people talking truth. Almost instantly, I realized that all of us have been lied to about everything, and that evil runs deep and is intertwined in every aspect of our lives. Some of the good people talking truth that I've found to be legit are Dave Pilatus, Scott Carpenter, Roger Spur, Thinker Thunker, Steve Quayle, L.A. Marzulli, and of course you and all the good, honest people of the Club of No Return. Although I've never seen Sabe or Dogman, I've pulled my homemade sword a couple of times while in the bush without seeing or hearing anything. Animals don't cause that feeling. I've had several crazy encounters on my excursions over the years, but I'll leave you with one unforgettable experience. I had taken a solo camping/fishing trip in the Alberta mountains. I'd never been in this area before, so I was just wandering in the Jeep looking for a nice place to fish while driving up a random back road. I saw 2 guys in a truck pulling a trailer with quads heading towards me. As we neared each other, we slowed down and then briefly stopped to chat. I remember noticing that the driver was extremely overly nice and forthcoming with answers to my small talk questions. He had longer blonde hair and was slender, slightly built, surfer type dude. The passenger was built like a tank. The passenger was built like a tank, pale and looked straight ahead, not saying a word the entire time. He looked timid, maybe even scared. I started feeling uneasy and asked what they are doing in the area and if they knew of any good fishing spots. The driver explained they were not fishing but working for an American university and had just driven through the mountains from the U.S. to check and investigate all the bear caves through the mountain pass. Bear caves. The explanation raised my suspicion as this was not a road connecting Canada and the U.S., and the story seemed far-fetched. It was. Feeling very uncomfortable now, I quickly wrapped up the conversation. The driver and I both said, "See ya." The passenger said nothing, still only staring straight ahead. As we slowly started pulling away from each other, heading in opposite directions, I leaned up my window slightly, still looking out at them, and the driver did the same. We both gave a final nod to each other, and that's when it happened. He started smiling, but his smile kept getting bigger and bigger. As his smile grew, his facial features started morphing and changing. What? In 2 or 3 seconds, his smile was bigger than the Grinch's, with tons of long, skinny, needle-sharp teeth, the face of pure evil. He slowly sunk back into his truck window as he got further away. I drove slowly, still looking back out the window, then checking my mirrors, trying to make sense of what I just saw. The truck had driven out of sight, but I was still checking my mirrors and trying to process it all, and was suddenly parched. My mouth was so dry. When I reached for my coffee, I realized that I was clutching my 18-inch hunting knife. Apparently, during the seconds of insanity that I'd just witnessed, I'd reached over and pulled my knife from its sheath without even realizing it. The rest of my trip, I was definitely on alert. I still get goosebumps when I talk or think about it, and thank God I never saw that truck again on my journey back down the mountain. I do, however, still wonder and worry about the passenger occasionally. I believe he was fully aware of what was in the truck with him that day. There is evil in this world, and it's running the shit show we're all living and watching right now. I believe it's only going to get worse. The name of Jesus saves people from evil. This is proven time and again. There is no way to the Father Creator except through Jesus. People need to know the truth, and we all have to fight the evil of this world together. Thank you, Steve, for all of you that share your truth. It's helped me in my life/journey immensely. Cheers to the club and a return. On a side note, Steve, when I was no longer to work physically to support my young family, I decided to write a book in the hopes it would provide my family as well as fulfill the dream I had of one day publishing a book. I dedicated all my time and money into working on it, writing it by hand 3 times before my wife edited and typed it out. It's called The Hunter, about a superhero based out of Calgary, which is named Saddleback City in the book. Because let's face it, Canada needs some good superheroes on our side of the border. Eh? This book is the first of a trilogy, with 2 more superheroes to be revealed one at a time with the second and third book. I also have another 10 to 12 more unrelated superheroes that I hope to one day publish as well. After a lot of hard work, I was able to get The Hunter published. And what a feeling of accomplishment when the first physical copy arrived. All my life I was told that I would never succeed in publishing a book, but I showed them. But more importantly, I was pumped about standing on my own 2 feet, being my own man, and supporting my family once again. Unfortunately, I chose the wrong publisher, who has been the only one benefiting from the sales of my book, and my dream hasn't turned into what I hoped for my family. I can't afford a lawyer, I got screwed, but I refuse to quit. I'm not looking for a handout, but if you were to give my book a shout out on your show, it could possibly help my family, and I'd be forever grateful in your debt. I have lots of copies that I can sell directly, which I'd be happy to sign, and ship to anyone who is interested in a great superhero story. If anyone's interested in purchasing a copy of The Hunter from me, they can send me a message on my Facebook page, The Hunter by Johnny Maurice, M-O-R-I-C-E, or email me at jlmorice@hotmail.com. Please send an order from me directly, not from my publisher or off the internet. I greatly appreciate the support and help. God bless. Sincerely, Johnny. Okay, there you go, Johnny. I normally don't ever promote anybody's shit ever. Only as a quick note. Also, apparently, if you alkalize your body, cancer can't grow. The black lettering on red Tylenol pills is magnetic. I tested it myself. What? All U.S. presidents are blood-related, no coincidence. Years back, Jack Parsons, Aleister Crowley, and possible others performed satanic rituals at Skinwalker Ranch, opening doorways and portals. Oil is the second most abundant liquid on Earth, next to water. UFOs are not intergalactic, they are interdimensional. Evil. There you go. Shared. I shared your shit. Huh. That's a creepy one. You know, probably a lot of our skeptics are going to be going, the guy's a writer, he made it up, he wrote it so he could promote his book. Maybe he did, maybe he did. So we'll take a chance here and share it, and we will see if anybody out there has a similar experience or sighting. Alright? That sounds freakier than shit. Sounds like a horror movie to me. What would I do if I seen something like that? I don't know. If there was a threat, I know what I'd do, obviously. But that's the first of its kind that I've heard here. Now, what do we got here? It's a different kind of day morning, isn't it? This next one is titled, Burnt Red Leather-like Skin. Hi Steve, my friend told me about your channel a few months ago, and I've been watching and learning and gaining information since then. I have to say, I never really gave much thought to Bigfoot. I thought it was just folklore. I'm blown away with how big this is. Listening to the experiences of others that you have shared is amazing. I hunted black bear up in Canada just west of Gowganda, Ontario, Gowganda, Ontario, in the early/mid-90s. Some of your opener videos going down rivers takes me right back. I miss it. I blew up my ankle and broke my leg in a couple of places in the late 90s, which made hunting not possible for me anymore. That sucks. There's nothing like being out in nature. I've never had an experience while hunting like the folks that share their experiences with you. My experience happened a year ago. I live in a town of about 50,000 in northeast Ohio. I've lived in this house for 30 years. One night last summer, I was sitting on my front porch watching a pretty serious storm. I love the smells, just love to be out and watch. Across the street, maybe 20 or 25 yards away, there's a power pole sitting between two rather large pine trees. There's a street light, maybe 20 feet down from the power pole across the street. It lights up the area enough to see a couple of driveways worth of space in both directions. There was a huge strike of lightning. It was like daylight for a few seconds. I saw movement by the pole and could hardly believe what I saw. There was something that looked like a small human, but was walking on all fours and going between the two pine trees, heading away from me. And it was not a dog, it was not a deer. It had burnt red, leather-like, shiny, wrinkly skin. I've never seen anything like it before or since. My hope is maybe someone else has seen something like this, or might have an idea what it was I saw. I know this is weird. I listen to your channel, hoping to hear maybe someone else's encounter with a similar experience. I appreciate what you're doing with having this channel. I have to ask, and I really would like to know what the music is that you have been using in your opening video for your channel. I love it. I would like to know where to get it and have it to listen to. Thanks for letting me share, Terry. Okay, hold on, Terry. Let me get back to your description of what you saw. I'm a little confused. One night sitting on my porch, across the street, power pole. I saw movement by the pole, could hardly believe what I saw. There's something that looked like a small human that was walking on all fours going between two pine trees. Not a dog, not a deer. Burnt red leather-like, shiny, wrinkly skin. Alright, you missed out on a bunch of details. If you saw the wrinkles in its skin, then you saw its fingers and its fingernails and its toes and its feet and its ankles. Everything. Ears, chin, snout, wide nose, thin lips, fat lips. What do you got? You're going to have to send us a little more detail. You saw the wrinkle in its skin. Give us the full picture, okay? So you can help out somebody who you're hoping to connect with who may have seen the same thing you saw. Okay, man? Get it back to me. The music, you know what I just do? I just go on to, I think it's called YouTube Creator or something like that. Then you can go on to the YouTube channel itself, and they have a whole pile of sounds and songs that you can grab and use in your video to keep you from getting deleted. Right? Strikes. Community strikes for stealing somebody's music. So that's where I get them. Do I remember the names? No, I don't. Sorry, I don't right now. It's probably on my computer. Alright, moving along. What do we got here? We got a book right here. That's too long for me right now. Alright, listen to this. This is titled, well, it's titled Red now. My family and I heard it. I saw it. Is the title of this email. Hey Steve, my name is Justin. I'm writing you from Central Illinois. My wife, daughter, and I used to spend countless hours playing in a creek near our home in White City, Illinois. This is a mostly rural/wooded area between St. Louis, Missouri and Springfield, Illinois. I think I've been through St. Louis. This is not somewhere I would have expected to experience what we have. But here are our encounters in our own words. The first few encounters occurred in the late spring and summer. We'd ride our side-by-side down the road and park it near a bridge over a waterway called Cahokia Creek, Cahokia Creek. This area was very private, and we could spend the afternoon wading through the creek, trying to find arrowheads, old glass bottles, etc. After long periods of rain, the layout of the creek would change, so there was always something new every time we went. Our typical day would bring a bucket to pick up trash. My wife and I would sit on the sandy banks while my daughter would splash around and goof in the water. On multiple occasions, we would hear what we thought to be a cougar. It was odd to us, but never really considered that it would be one of the forest people. The only way I can describe it is that it sounded like a sad Wookiee. Exactly like the recording in your video. Sounds recorded nightly now. Listen to this is the title of my past video. It was every 15 seconds or so, for a short period of time. Like I said, we took it for a cougar or something, which even then aren't common here, but possible. I'm always carrying, so we weren't very concerned, just aware. This happened 2 or 3 times. Now, I drive over that bridge daily to and from work. I believe the year to be 2019, and I was working 7 days a week because we were experiencing flooding at work from the Mississippi River. One afternoon at around 4 p.m., I was crossing the bridge and working my way up the road. The creek is at the bottom of the half-wooded, half-farm field area. As I'm coming out of the bottom, up ahead there are trees on both sides of the road. The trees formed a canopy on both sides. The sun was shining through the very lush foliage, so my visibility was very clear. I saw, on the left side of the road, something ran out from the trees on all 4s. It was solid black, covered in short to medium-length hair, and about the size of a black bear. It happened so fast, so I only have a short photographic video memory of it in my head. It ran out from the left and across the road to my right side. On the right side, there is an embankment that would require some strength and grip to ascend easily. While running on all 4s, this thing stood up on the hind legs and climbed the embankment with ease. It happened so fast, and it was very disorienting. I was home a few minutes later and called my neighbor, who had lived in the area for almost 50 years. I asked him if he ever had heard of bears being in the area. He mentioned that they had released some pretty far south from us to help control the cougar population. What? But he assured me there were no bears around that I am crazy. I've discounted my experience for several years. Transferred bears to control cougar population. Said and did no one ever. I've been watching your channels for almost 2 years now, and I'm absolutely sure what I saw was not a black bear and certainly not a cougar. The speed and agility of this thing, along with the sounds that my family and I heard, are no longer mistakable for anything else. I'm thankful that our experiences weren't as traumatic as others, and for those people, I wish you the best in dealing with the negative effects that such encounters can have. We no longer live in that area and are 100% rural now, only hearing coyotes all night and the occasional fox in the tree line across the field behind our house. I've attached some aerial photos of the area. The location of the encounters will always be in the center of the photographs. The Google Maps Street View is the exact location and view that I would have seen from my vehicle when the being crossed the road and ran up the embankment. Thank you for your time, Steve, and thank you for helping me fall asleep for the last couple of years. You're a true inspiration to us all with what you're doing. Keep fighting the truth and freedom and being safe. Love you, man. All right. Appreciate your kind words. Big time, and thank you so much for sharing that. Excuse me. There's the pictures. There's the picture from the road. It looks flat to me on the picture of the road. And there's the river. All right, there you go. Share it. Share it. The speed is the part that scares a lot of people. A lot of people witness the speed is one of the first things they relay, and it scares the shit out of them. And I've noticed that when I was speaking to people eye to eye a long time ago when I was really looking at this topic. One thing that I learned was the part that freaks you out the most is usually the part that people share first and repeat a few times during the story. The size, right? The size or the terror or the speed. Size, terror, and speed seem to be the three most common points that people share verbally right away in their story. It's what impacts you the most, right? Thanks for sending that in, man. Appreciate you. And my comment about the bear cougar thing wasn't to demean your story in any way. It's just to make sure that everybody knew that doesn't go down. Okay? There isn't. Yeah, anyway. Okay, moving along. Michigan, Bear Walker. It's the title of this email. Hi, Steve. Started watching YouTube a lot during the lockdown. I like the scenery and the excellent nature footage you have. It is relaxing. I've long since lost my nerve, lol. However, the wild man lives in peace around me in places that are not far from small yet very populated towns close to the state capital. My experience that I'm writing about, however, happened up near the fourth parallel near Black Lake. My family and I were base camped at a snow mobile cabin that was across the street. You probably meant small mobile cabin that was across the street from the lake, and had a fenced-in backyard that was kept mowed. The fence butted up to the huge Hiawatha National Forest. I'm part Potawatomi. It's hard to argue the proper spellings when we are talking about an unwritten language. We would travel from the cabin into the Upper Peninsula to the reservation of my Ojibwa friends and go to the Taquamanan Falls. The Gitchagoo Me is a magic place, but it's different at night. That's when the bear walkers will get close to you and check you out. I was having a small fire in the little fire pit in the back corner of the yard of the small mobile cabin after a long day trip adventuring with my wife and two sons. I was working on a 5-pack of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and sitting there enjoying the cool night air. It was well after dark, and I took notice of the unusual lack of insect noise when from just inside the tree line of the forest, which was just 10 feet beyond some very tall grass on the other side of the fence that went around the backyard, a brand that had to be twice the size of a Louisville Slugger, okay, I think you meant branch, was snapped with a very loud and sudden pow. It scared me, as it was only 15 feet from me. The air changed to an electric haze of unimaginable concern for my well-being. I quickly retreated to the back porch of the cottage and watched in total disbelief as a giant black silhouette of a very big upright being. It had bright red glowing eyes, and I could only see its outline because it was blacker than the dark night. It was followed by two little ones. They were about 5 or 6 feet tall. The big one leaned over the fence, and it seemed to inspect my decent, properly small little fire. There's no rubbish or anything, just my stump seat and a 3-pack of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I could tell you what it was like, but I'm unable to find the words. Not wanting to be unrespectful guests, and out of fear and common sense, I went indoors and went to bed. The people here are people of the 3 fires, collectively known as Anishinaabe. Sorry, I know that one. Anishinaabe. I love you, man. Please tell people just to leave them alone. I hope that all is well. May the road rise with you, brother. Sincerely, Aaron, Kelly, Hornbeck, Ashley. Okay, gotcha. Couple typos in there, but I got her. We got it shared. We got it across clearly. Appreciate your share, man. Absolutely appreciate the time you just took and the share you just threw down here through me. And there you go. More First Nations, first-hand experience, and a little piece of advice. Just leave them alone. Right? Just leave them alone. It's endless. Okay, here's another one. I may even bust this up into two videos, maybe. Alright, here we go. Adventure Dog's laying on the floor. All politely staying quiet and not too antsy. Listen to this. This is titled, Out of Our Depths in Central Utah. Hey Steve, my name is Spencer. I came across your channel about 3 years ago while I was preparing for my first elk hunt. Thanks for the advice. I tagged one that year. I came for hunting advice, but soon became fascinated with the Sabe-themed videos you shared, specifically because of your no-nonsense approach. You're not the kind of man to waste your time and others by blathering on about cryptic encounters, and I appreciated that. You approached the topic with a healthy case of criticism, especially at the beginning. It's amazing to me how far this round table of knowledge has come. This channel now has more knowledge on this subject than any other publicly accessible resource. Good work, Steve. Good work to the people. Thanks for your kind words, but good work to the people, right? The topic is a hard pill to swallow for most people, and is completely understandable, especially for those that just want to enjoy nature without concern for their well-being. But I agree that it is more important to be educated and aware of the potential dangers. It helps you keep your head in the event that you come face to face with the seemingly impossible. Yes, it does. From the start, the stories you share immediately rang true to me, and I was shocked to find out how many suppressed memories returned to me over time as I picked up little bits of information from these videos. My puzzle has really filled out to the point where I feel comfortable with the fact that they are all around us. It helps knowing that in general the Sabe just want to be left alone and go about their own business. If they mess with you, it's more than likely they just find it entertaining. I'll try to be brief, since my stories are echoes of others. Nothing new here. But it was hearing those stories that were just like mine that helped me connect the dots with my experiences. So I'll share to add my voice to the thousands of others here that are waking up to the fact that we are intentionally being left in the dark about these highly intelligent beings that are sharing this planet with us. When you come to recognize the patterns that our enemies in power employ, it becomes so obvious why they have employed the media to turn the topic into a subject of ridicule. It is a highly effective way to get people to shut up about their experiences. And when no one shares, no one learns. I want to thank you for creating a place where ridicule gets quickly dismissed and these experiences are allowed to be shared freely. My first obvious encounter is when two of my high school friends and I decided to hike to the south peak of Mount Nebo, Utah, about 14 years ago. We weren't aware of where the trails were. Looking back, I wish we had taken time to do more research, but we were young and fit. I decided we would just go hike up the east face from Salt Creek Canyon Road/trail. I know better now, but this was a bad idea from the start. It was scramble the whole way up, fighting through thickets, scaling edgy cliffs, and experiencing the heat of the sun for the entire day. We started the climb at about 6:30 a.m. and reached the peak as the sun was setting about 14 hours later. Absolutely exhausted and completely drained of energy. On the way up, after passing the tree line, we came across the most incredible meadow, full of foot-tall grass and complete with a natural spring. Our canteens and water bottles were pretty much dry at that point, so we're eager to drink the water, but I felt the need to trace the stream back to its origin. Sure enough, it came straight out of the mountain like an artisan spring. We decided this is where we'd drop our heavy packs and set up camp before climbing the summit. It was full dark and we made it back to our tent and crashed for the night. I was beyond exhausted. So I'm surprised I even woke to all the noises I heard that night, but I have a perfect recollection of the sound that woke me out of a deep sleep. It was the sound of footsteps, louder than any human would be capable of, especially in earthly ground, muffled by the tall grass all around us. My awareness was spiked as pure fear. My awareness was spiked as pure fear locked me in place within my sleeping bag. I felt terror beyond what I consider natural, even for a life and death situation. Images of a massive bear tearing into our tent, ripping us apart, flooded in my head, and I was frozen in place. I could not bring myself to utter a single word to wake up my companions and alert them to the danger. My heightened awareness started picking up every detail I could get from hearing alone, since it was completely black and all my other senses and mobility seemed to have shut down. Hearing was all I had to rely on to know how close this creature was to killing us. As I listened, with my body on pins and needles, I picked out other details. The footsteps were individual, not overlapping, like any four-legged animal, and there was an unusual amount of space between each step, making me utterly confused as to why this thing was taking such unusually loud and ponderous steps. Then, it began making a grunting noise, which confused me all the more. It didn't seem like a hostile noise, more like a dissatisfied huffing. I don't recall when the rock started, but I remember hearing rocks being tossed around our tent. Once again, nothing like what a natural rock falling off a cliff or a ledge would sound like. They were individually spaced out and were thumping on the ground, bouncing once or twice as they landed. Occasionally these would bump against the tent. Lawn bowling for campers. I remained in this state of heightened alertness, listening to loud, ponderous bipedal steps as they moved farther away from the tent, and the continued thumping of the rocks as they landed around us every so often. It felt like 30 minutes before I regained enough control to squeak out my friend's name and see if they had heard the noises. All I got was a groan from one of them, and they didn't seem to have woken up at all. My body gradually released all the pent-up fear and tension, and I must have passed out shortly after that. First thing in the morning, I told my friends that something had visited us during the night, but I had a hard time describing it. Loud steps, grunting, and rocks being thrown at us. I looked around at the meadow. It was shaped something like a half a bowl with inclining walls, but there weren't any areas with loose rock. It was all grassy for several hundred yards in each of the upward-facing directions. The experience bothered me. But I was happy nonetheless. But I was happy none of us got eaten. And I guess my brain was satisfied enough to start suppressing the details, just like our brains tend to do when we don't know how to process something we don't understand. That morning, as we were filling up our bottles, we found an old, rotted-out carcass of a squirrel at the mouth of the spring. I was horrified that we hadn't noticed it the night before, and I had checked the source of the stream and had verified that it was all clear and came straight out of the mountain. That's the dog you hear. It's right below the camera. This very old carcass was right there, so obviously sitting on top of the small stream right where it was coming out of the mountain. I didn't connect the dots at the time, but it was clear to me now that it was placed there. It was the kind of decomposition you'd expect from something that was left in the sun, not in the water. Steve, that part of my memory finally clicked into place for me today. These fragmented parts of my memory took time to piece together, but now that I have them back, they're all clear like it happened last month. I was amazed by how these layers get peeled back over time. More often than not, it's while I'm listening to your videos and hear someone's description of an event and realize, wow, I experienced something very similar. That's what inspired me to go ahead and write in. I have other stories. Briefly, I'll tell you that my sister and I went on a hike 3 years ago. We left our overnight packs in the car. We wanted to hike up to these large red cliffs in Nephi Canyon, Nephi Canyon, just south of Mount Nebo, Nebo, and then return and camp elsewhere. But 3.5 hours later, we are over 4 miles into our hike when we realize we really underestimated the distance to our goal. We are nothing if not tenacious and daring, so we just kept going, long after breaking away from the trail and bushwhacking our way up the hills toward those cliffs. Around 7 p.m. we keep telling ourselves that we will just reach the top of the next hill for a good view before turning around and getting back to the car. But we are famous for not knowing when to stop when it comes to exploring. Soon after, we come across a very large stone outcropping that looked like the underside of it had been dug out. The dirt was packed down with a loose layer on top. It gave me the immediate impression that something was bedding down under the outcropping, but I couldn't locate any specific tracks. We decided to not linger in this area for very long, as we knew we didn't have much daylight left. We continued on, and were chatting and laughing without a care, when we heard a massive boom from the thick woods below our position on a ridge. We immediately froze in our steps and whipped around to stare at the tree line about 200 yards below us at our 7 o'clock position. It sounded like someone cracked the side of a tree with a wooden bat. There was absolutely no follow-up sound, which I would have expected from a tree falling over and crashing against another tree. Also, there was no movement whatsoever in the trees, which I would have expected with such a crash. At least a few birds should have gotten spooked, or a crow would have startled and cawed, but it was dead silent. Since then, I've heard about tree knocks, or pops as they're sometimes referred to as. The sound exactly as described. This sounded exactly as described, and I've heard recordings of that exact sound recently. We looked with raised eyebrows at each other and continued to watch the tree line, for at least a full minute. Once I was convinced nothing was going to come barreling out of the woods, I went right back to my story, filling the silence and attempting to put us both at ease over such an odd occurrence. But the entire feel of the situation changed from that point on. We kept feeling like something was watching us from the tree line and couldn't help but stop multiple times to scan the trees and listen to the silence. Occasionally we thought we heard movement, but it was never persistent enough to hear it over the sound of our own heavy breathing. We have a good sense for each other, so even though we didn't express our feelings of concern and played off the situation with ease, I could tell we were both feeling uneasy. It was like around 8 p.m. when a large crashing noise came from the other side of the ridge where we were hiking up. It was such a dramatically loud noise in contrast to the quiet we had grown accustomed to that once again we immediately stopped in our tracks to listen. It sounded like a massive section of rock had broken away from the mountain and went crashing down the mountainside. We couldn't see the cause of the noise, but we estimated it must have been at least the size of a vehicle to make that much racket going down the mountain. Trees were snapping, and there was a heavy, booming sound we assumed to be the large boulder as it rolled. As we listened, I remember commenting on how dead we would be if we had been hiking below that rock when it fell. I thought it was more than strange for us to be nearby when a huge boulder had happened to fall. I waited, but didn't see any dust or debris in the air once the sound stopped. I was deeply disturbed, but wanted to get a move on. At this point, I knew there was no way we would get back down the mountain before losing all light, and we were not equipped for hiking the rocky landscape in the dark. Looking back, I think I was also avoiding the idea of crossing whatever that had made that sound. We finally got the view we were looking for at 8:40 p.m. It was an incredible sunset, and we got to enjoy from near the base of the cliffs. We were feeling very anxious about our predicament, knowing there was no going back and the likelihood of there being a large animal nearby. We opted for finding the most protected area we could possibly get. It was a crack about 16 to 20 inches tall that went in about 5 feet into the base of one of the main cliffs. Directly below the cliff was a steep rock slide that I considered to be a great alarm system if any animals tried creeping up on us during the night. That's a pretty good defensive spot. We dug out as much dirt as we could to make the space a little more roomy, placed the hammock below us, and layered the 2 emergency blankets over the top of us. Needless to say, it was one of the worst nights of sleep I've ever had. It was extremely uncomfortable, and the wind chill at the base of that cliff was terrible. But I'll say it wasn't the worst, considering that we didn't have any issues that night from the locals. I'm sure they were watching. but thankfully they didn't show themselves and were content to let us tough out the rough night on our own. I find it interesting that each of my experiences have occurred when I am way out of my depths, typically out on a hike that I found myself unprepared for and far away from the main trails. It seems to be that in those situations, I was hiking through their land and became curious. Thankfully, they didn't go too far with the threats and scare tactics, or I'd probably be telling a different story altogether. Sorry for the lengthy telling. I thought I would shorten it down more, but that's how they happened. I'm glad I could share my story, even if there's no groundbreaking new information I'm bringing to the table. Somebody's having a dream. It's tough having your closest family and friends immediately dismiss what you've experienced as happenstance or just think you're making up stuff. But I have met the occasional person who has had their own experience, so it's absolutely worth sharing your story and seeing other people's brains turn over as they consider their own strange experiences. That's what it's all about, getting people to think for themselves and come up with their own answers based on the information being shared. Thanks for being an advocate for the truth and sharing intelligence in a world full of those who seek to manipulate our freedoms and cripple our intelligence. Blessings to you from the great creator, Spencer H. Not too long for me, Spencer. Appreciate you shared it, man. And importantly, you shared where, right? Where. So hopefully that's helping somebody. And maybe even confirming something for somebody, right? Somebody had the same experience or more where you were. And I'll bet if that is the case, it's going to knee-jerk them into sharing here more information. Then you can learn, I can learn, we all can learn more together, right? But anyway, my brain's starting to go this way, so I gotta go. I have to go get my stuff organized, all my camera equipment, my gear, vehicle, some clothes, and some food. And I'm heading out. Sarah's not coming. She decided to stay. She's working today, and we have another graduation to go to in Vancouver. I'll tell you what, half my life has been driving this past month. So much shit I want to do. I'll get to it. So, yeah, I'm going to leave until Sunday. I think I'll be back, and then I just turn around and head right back out and head to Vancouver. And then I think I'm back on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then I get to do more. So, there. Share my story at howtohunt.com. I'll be back. I'll be back soon.
Oh.